Good evening, everyone. SFL Nation. I'm your host, Axel Raven. Welcome to episode number 6, Minor League Fights and Insights. Really excited about this week. Last week we really got a kickoff, a really great kickoff of games for our week 1 in the Simulation Football League Minor League. Really excited about that. We have a couple of great guests to come on this week that we'll be chatting with in just a little bit. First, I want to welcome. We'll jump over to this little view. We've got, as always, except for next week and the week after, Daniel, right? My partner in crime in this. How are you doing, Daniel?
I'm doing pretty good. I had a nice day of shopping, preparing for my vacation. So now I'm here to
Excellent,
chill
excellent.
out.
Very cool. You're heading down to Philadelphia or Pennsylvania at least?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go to Jersey, but the destination is Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. I have never been, so enjoy it. Enjoy it. And then we also have Shane. Hey, Shane. How are you? Shane Kaufman.
What's up? I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Awesome. Yeah, wide receiver for Tacoma. Woo woo, represent. All right. So let's get into reviewing last week's games. Last week, as in just Friday, and I can't believe we have games coming tomorrow. That was a little surprise. All right, so I'm going to pop open our little thing here. All right. So we've got our season 4 week 1 game. So game 1, the first game that started off, kicked off with Boise versus Tacoma. Obviously Tacoma won. They were kind of the favorite going into that. It was also, Boise was an uncertain. We weren't sure exactly what they were going to be doing how they were going to be doing this year. And I'm sure they did not play how they will be playing this week. And such. Curious on your thoughts on that first game, Boise versus Tacoma.
Well, last week I said it was going to be like a 1-score, 2-score game, and I was completely wrong on that. Things to note: Douglas Brown did go for over 100 yards, so we knew that he was going to be the main offense.
Yep.
Charles Bladden didn't do too bad, 16 for 22. But he only had 86 passing yards, so it's very heavily what they did on the run game. Mm-hmm. On the other side, Tacoma had a good throwing attack and run attack. Not only did Brad Jones himself go for 196 yards and 2 TDs, Johnny Reno went 18 for 22 for 311 passing yards, 3 TDs, and only 1 interception. Which, when we took looking last season, Reno had a little bit of an up and down year, right? We would say. But this year, he came out swinging, and boy, did they connect. They're a scary team coming into this right now. And Boise needs to figure out what they need to do now come next game.
Yeah, I think that was the big thing, is just sort of cutting their teeth. New OC. All the props to you, Aaron, coming in. It's hard. I've been finding that myself, running sims, and then the games don't always play. I've run I'm going to run 4 or 5 games back to back. One of them is really a poor game. The other ones are great. So it ends up being the one that actually goes live is like the one, like your players aren't playing the way that they should, or the way that they are in many other games, but that you sim. So it's just a really interesting thing. And it's just every week is going to be a little bit different. Every week's going to be a new opportunity. It was really, Daniel, you and I were chatting a little bit in the DM during the Boise Tacoma game towards the end there, seeing, Brad Jones putting up Doug Brown numbers, and Doug Brown, again, not being stifled by any means, but compared to last year, producing only roughly half of what you would expect him to be producing this season.
Yeah, he wasn't stopped. I say contained is like the word I like to use with this. He was very much contained in this game.
Mm-hmm. Shane, what's your readout? Were you able to watch it live while it was being broadcast?
Nah, so Fridays are hard for me with Friday Night Football, so I had to watch it after the game was over. So I didn't get to watch it till late. So I was definitely I expected our offense. I think we all expected Tacoma's offense to do what we did, but I was pleasantly surprised how well our defense played. If we can continue playing like that on defense, we're a scary team.
Yeah, Agreed. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do this week, and seeing how I'm just seeing the evolution and the changes week from week. There's going to be very different than the SFL. I think this is even more of a figuring out, and there are a lot more changes and a lot more highs and lows for teams, and not knowing exactly what you're going to get. And I think up for a lot of surprise. And I think that's what makes the SFLM even that much more exciting as well to watch. We'll move on to game number 2. This one pits Memphis at Lexington. Again, I feel like this one was really in Lexington's grasp for the most part throughout the game. I don't think Memphis was able to really get a hold of too much on the offense. They didn't, allow too many points, but really it didn't go probably exactly as Memphis had planned going into this either. I think they didn't quite play up to their potential last week. Daniel, what's your thoughts?
So Memphis, I thought was going to do a whole lot better, honestly, because they have one of the quote-unquote 4 horsemen for running back. And Sheepy Wells was the only horseman that got under 100 yards rushing. So that's very telling, even in itself. Hopefully they can bring it around. I know they have some good defensive pieces, and that's what kept them in the game for the most part, but their offense needs to get going. They mainly threw the ball, which I personally was not expecting. Like, Jive had 43 attempts.
Wow.
Yeah, 31 for 43. So he did have 323 yards and 1 TD, but he had 3 interceptions as well.
So they were going through the air a lot of like the throwing attack that maybe Lexington. They were assuming maybe Lexington wasn't prepared for, or trying to leverage maybe a weakness that they thought they saw, which didn't really pan out with the interceptions that were there. Yeah, that's curious. Shane, were you able to watch this game at all?
I checked out some of it. Like I said, I think going into this game, and I think we touched on it a little bit, a couple shows ago. These were 2 teams that we weren't too sure about. So yeah. I think this was a good telling of week 1. It's only week 1. But one of these teams, may be better in the end, than they look this week, like Memphis. Especially with their running game. So I think it was one of those interesting kind of games.
Yeah, and talking with over the last week or 2 leading up to the last week's game and a little bit afterwards, Ethan Kai, the head coach on Lexington, feeling like there's a lot of big shoes to fill or a lot of expectations for his team and things with a lot of the losing a lot like Bailey O'Shaughnessy and Aaron Alexander was from there. I can't remember why am I blanking on who the oh no, that must be wait. Yeah, that's why am I Dave Burr's team, right? He was on Lexington.
That was the expert.
So they really took a lot of their star offensive players, and so I feel like Ethan has a lot to prove. I think he's trying to come out and make a statement. And I think I know he's putting on a lot of effort in trying to figure out the right game plans going into this to set himself up for success week after week after week, which is what the coaches should be doing, right? Awesome. Then we come into the sort of not unexpected to go, that they won, but I think to the extent that they won, the game 3 Ottawa versus Annapolis, that was really a entirely one-sided game up until it was a shutout up until the last few minutes of that fourth quarter. What are you thinking?
So I'm going to throw some numbers.
Yeah.
Because I like doing this. Not only did Squarebush go for 241 yards, we all knew that. He also had a really good throwing game as well to catch for some receptions, 3 touchdowns. But the wild card here was the quarterback, right? He started very late last season on a winless team with the Fuel. Got their first win in week 9, and I think it might have been against Ottawa itself. So this would be 2 wins in a row, quote-unquote, against Ottawa. Gene Struthers, 19 for 24, 173 yards, 1 pass TD, only 1 interception. That's pretty good when he's the secondary provider compared to Squarebush. Like, there wasn't a lot of give up there. He threw when he needed to. He made the plays when he needed to, and it was really good. And their defense, hands down solid. Not only Tazzy Blackwell, but also Odette Boudreau. I'm sorry if I said that wrong, Al. They got to the quarterback constantly against Ottawa. And Scar Patterson, like I said before, he's the best quarterback in the league, but he got new wide receivers. And there's going to be some time to get that adjustment going. And, well, he felt it against this Navigators defense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was, it was, yeah, I don't know what I was going to say. Shane, what are your thoughts on this? Were you able to catch some of this one?
Yeah, I definitely checked this one out. I thought I was kind of expecting it. I didn't expect it to be this high a score in a game like a blowout, but Ottawa basically only returning one person, their star quarterback. It was going to be tough for them until everyone starts progressing and starts getting their ratings up. That it was going to be tough putting points up. So I think they're definitely a team that's gonna be a lot better towards the end of the season. Once these new players start progressing. But I kind of expected it to be maybe not so high of a scoring game, but I kind of expected it to go kind of this way.
I mean, you might have been expecting more like the Boise, Tacoma, or Memphis, Lexington numbers, but to see 48 and to come out running as strong as he did, Randy Squarebush, getting 3 touchdowns, 241, I think, yards, in addition to 3 receptions for 16 yards. So he was contributing on both sides. What I was going to say, I forgot totally what I was going to say before. What a difference from last year. It's roughly the same players other than new personnel coming in. It's a new coaching system, obviously, but seeing these players, I'm sure those that were here last year on the Fuel coming now to seeing this game, this score, the potential that they have, and the respect of everybody in the minor league right now, is I'm sure is a huge game changer for them, and maybe not sure exactly, or either it's very due because last season they were struggling so much, but still had that potential, but it was just underneath being able to show and release that, like behind a dam of some sort, and this dam is broken wide open now.
Oh, definitely, and I'm really excited to see their next game and see how they do, because right now we've seen what their potential can be. Can they continue it? Is the big thing.
Mm-hmm. So game number 4, we have San Jose Flight. We're visiting Salt Lake City, the Rustlers. Salt Lake City won out. I personally was not able to watch this game. Daniel, do you have a little update on this game at all?
I got to watch a bit of it. It was a defensive battle, to say the least, on this game. I didn't know how this game was going to go at first when I was looking at their list of players, because a lot of them have lost their identity compared to last season. They lost their players in drafts. Mm-hmm. So it was nice to see what was coming off. For San Jose, their quarterback struggled. 26 for 46, 56%, only 192 yards, and he got sacked twice. So he never had the best game. Mm-hmm. And with their running back, he ran 15 times for 48 yards. So their offense didn't really do a whole lot. Mm-hmm. On the other side of the coin, Kenny Slider, quarterback, Salt Lake City, 21 for 27 for 178, but 1 interception. So he played better, but the yards weren't coming out either way. And with Logan Lee, running back, he ran 27 times for 79 yards, and he was the TD. He's the one that got the TD.
Gotcha. So yeah, I mean, it looks like it was the battle of who was going to be the least mediocre, I guess you could say. Sadly, with 79 yards, it's not a bad performance, especially in the SFL at some point. That's not per se a poor performance. It's average, I would say. The number of runs for the San Jose Flight running back seems a little, it's hard to win a game when you're only getting 2.5 yards per carry. It's hard. You then have to carry it on the either really, really strong defense or strong passing game to cover that up. But without that, then again you end up with a field goal. So, Shane, do you have any thoughts? Did you see any bit of that?
Yeah, I tried checking it out a little bit. I mean, it got pretty late on Friday. I was
Yeah.
trying to check all the games out, but going into the game, I thought this was the game that was pretty evenly matched. It was one of those games where it could have went either way. Um, being a defensive struggle game because both offenses struggled, so I kind of seen it going that way. But I mean, that it was it was a tough game to start off.
Hmm. Agreed. I feel like they're all going to bounce back. They're finding their identity, much like Daniel you were saying, which is really true. Like not only on the players but also the coaching side. A lot of the teams had a big coaching mix up, not mix up. Shuffling, I guess you could say, or like some people leaving, some people coming in, and it's really the first game where there was nothing, barely anything to go on because especially with teams like Annapolis or Boise coming in with a new coaching structure, not knowing what their game plan might be or how they might leverage their weapons. All you have to go on is last year or last season, which is hard to do. Or you just simply, how can we play our own best game regardless of who we are playing? And this is just, I feel like the starting point, the jumping off point for it. So yeah, any last words about last week's games?
I'm hoping this week we get a bit more of a closer games. We had two blowouts, let's say. So I'm hoping this week a lot of the games are closer and we get a little bit more excitement because we thought Boise and Tacoma were going to be the teams that were going to be in the championships. I think a lot of people thought that.
Yeah.
After looking at that, I think the Navigators are going to sneak in right now with the way they played and how well they played. If they keep it up all season, they might be the team to take down Tacoma or Boise and get that secure spot in the championship and maybe even take it. I'm really excited to see how the Navs play.
Even if they do lose to Tacoma, that's say Annapolis, if they can take the rest of the games, they're going to be at a really high record and go into that championship and maybe then be forced to have Tacoma versus Annapolis in the championship or something like that. You know what I mean? So I feel like even if they were to lose one or two games, they're still, out of I think nine games this 8 or 9 games this season. So that's still a solid record and can get you into that playoff spot. Cool. All right. Well, enough with last week. We've got a lot of great stuff coming this week. We actually have two special guests today. We've been talking about a little bit about both of them. So I'd love to welcome both Randy Squarebush as well as Johnny Reno. You guys can come off mute. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us. Yeah, thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll have to get used to both of your voices. Would both of you like to introduce yourself? Randy, do you want to go first?
Sure. Do you want like actual name or player name? What's your looking for?
Player name is just fine. I have another question. Would you just tell us a bit about yourself? Randy Squarebush,
Yeah, sure.
running back. Who are you?
So I am a over-the-road truck driver for CR England. I haul flatbeds for pods. I've been in sim leagues for better part of the last 2-3 years,
Awesome.
and I've been on the Birmingham Fuel the past 2 seasons, and now the Annapolis Navigators. And I am from Boise, Idaho, not Boise, Boise.
Boise? Gotcha.
Boise.
Well, make sure to correct everybody I hear say Boise.
Yeah, I guess I've been saying that wrong the whole time.
That's funny.
It's okay.
All right, next we have Johnny Reno. Would you all like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey, Johnny Reno, quarterback of the Tacoma Grizzlies, obviously. I am a store manager for a local hardware retailer, so not out of the ordinary for me to work 50, 60 hours a week, but of course I try to make time to, chime in the SFL, chats and whatnot and try to build my team up. And of course I have a family, 3 little kids, so, they take a lot of my time, but again, the SFL is great, love it, and enjoying it.
Awesome. Great to hear. All right. I want to know how, we both talked about, both of you had really outstanding games last week. How did last week's games feel for you? Were you able to watch them live or did you watch them afterwards? And how did it feel seeing your performance on the field? Johnny, do you want to go first, and then we'll go to Randy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I did get to catch mine live. The other games, of course, I had to catch up after the fact. But, it felt great week one. There's all the hype coming into the first game. There's a lot of new players. The chats are blowing up with a lot of the guys kind of trying to get hyped up for week one. But it's always good to watch the game and perform at the level that you hope to or expect to. So it was a good week one. We pulled out a win. Shane Kaufman's over there, breaking minor league records. So it was a fun game to watch, and I'm glad that we were able to perform the way I was hoping we would.
Awesome. And Randy, how about you? How did last week's game feel for you?
It was a great feeling compared to my last 2 seasons of play. If you look at clips from season 2 and season 3 to what we just saw in that last game, it was totally different. And I couldn't be happier. The team really came together. We put together a strong ball game and dominated from start to finish. So I really can't complain compared to last season.
Awesome. What was, Randy, while we have you here, what was it like, the build-up for week one, leading up to it, the days, the weeks beforehand? What was that feeling like? Was there a lot of anxiety? Was there, what was it like for you?
For me personally, having been through 2 seasons already, it wasn't as exciting as it might have been. I'm here. I'm looking forward to getting drafted.
Yeah.
After 2 full seasons and now going into my 3rd. That's what this season's about for me, is just getting drafted, getting my name out there. That's kind of what the build-up was for me. It wasn't necessarily it wasn't necessarily nervousness, or it was just all right, we've been here before, it's time to get to work.
That makes sense. How about for you, Johnny? What was it? The build-up? Was there a build-up? Was there, what was it like the week, 2 weeks leading up to the kickoff?
Well, I think for me, maybe the opposite of what Squarebush just said, but being the 3rd year in the minor leagues, you would assume that the jitters would wear off, the bugs would wear off. But honestly, I was a little, nervous going into it. This is a 3rd year, so you obviously want to perform at a high level. I feel like, especially with, Tacoma and making the playoffs last year, there was an expectation, to perform at a high level. So, honestly, I had a little bit of, butterflies coming into it. It was exciting. Even though it is the 3rd season, I mean, the off season seemed so long. It felt like, your first game all over again. So it was very exciting.
Yeah. Well, good. That leads me really well, Johnny Reno. Well, what was your off season like? That I'm sure it got really long from mid to end of June through just last week. What was that like for you?
It was long. I mean, of course. Sorry. Of course, we got to watch some SFL games and you see the pro guys play, and but every week you're watching them, kind of like Squarebush said, kind of like him, we're ready to get drafted. We want to get to that level. So, even as you're watching it, you're preparing yourself for your own season. And, it seemed like an eternity, but it came really quick. So it was great. Weeks leading up to it, I would try to chime into the Gen Chats and kind of build everybody up. Maybe bring a little competitive edge to everybody, kind of throw a few comments out there, just kind of riling everybody up. But, it's just competitive fun. So.
Yeah, definitely. How about for you, Randy? What was your off season like?
For me, my off season was a lot of reflection. I didn't have the season I wanted to have in season 3. No one on Birmingham had that season.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was looking at, okay, what can I get better at? What can I improve on? And what I was noticing back in season 3 was I was not getting past that first line of defense. I was getting caught up. I really worked on making sure I could break those tackles and pick up games. And I think the entire team really honed in on what we had as shortcomings last season, and we really worked at building those up. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to this season for us as a team.
Awesome. And how you mentioned that, so we'll jump into my final question, and then I'll ask if Daniel and Shane if they have any questions for you. My final question for you, Randy, you alluded to this a little bit already. What do you think is going to be different for you this season, or a different focus? You mentioned like the focus right now is like getting your name out there, performing, having that great final last minor league season before then being ideally drafted because of that performance and what you can bring to teams. What do you think is going to be different this season than previous?
Well, I think we kind of already saw it in week one, the whole lowering the shoulder, putting defenders into the dirt. That's when I made Randy, that's what I wanted him to do. I wanted him to be that big, tough, power running back.
Mm-hmm.
And the first 2 seasons, I was consistently getting outdone by all those balancer, speedster guys. I forget their names. I'll remember them when I hear them, but I'm terrible with names.
No worries.
But, I think this year, now that I've really focused on breaking those tackles and gotten an animation or two, I think that the proof is in the work that was put in the offseason, and it's really a night and day Randy Squarebush from last season to this.
Awesome. Final thing for you, is there anything you want to say to any SFL owners, GMs, or coaches out there to watch for you or anything?
One thing when I'm looking through the running backs and the pros, I don't see a whole lot of power running backs. And, with 3 seasons in the minors, you don't have to wait for me to develop. I'm there already. I'm ready to go.
Awesome.
I'm just chomping at the bit for the opportunity.
Awesome. Johnny, for you, how is the season going to be different for you from your previous 2 seasons?
Yeah, I'm going to chime in exactly what Squarebush said. I think year 3, I think it's all about, with growing, I think you realize certain things within the SFL and communication with the owners and the GMs and, reaching out and showing, what you have and your willingness and what you can bring to a team. So that's definitely what I'm focusing on this year. I mean, on the field, kind of like he said, value-wise, I mean, we're right there with, most of the pro guys. So I think they already know that, but I think it's what you can bring to the SFL team and what they see maybe in you differently to make them successful. Because, a lot of those guys, at least for me personally as a QB, you look for openings, and so far I've noticed a couple, players retire. So, of course you want to kind of dive in and see, what can you bring to those teams, make yourself appealing to those owners. So that's one thing that I'm going to do differently this year, is really, reach out and be more vocal. And I've learned enough now, kind of like we chatted before, being a leader and, there's a lot of new players in the minors, being a teacher to those guys and helping them out with their progressions. And, it's something that I didn't do in the past that I realized that I would rather, be a more of a leader this year in that case.
Awesome. Do you have anything specific you'd like to add other than what you just said, give you an opportunity to talk directly to the owners or GMs out there?
Not necessarily. I'm here for the long haul. I love the SFL.
Mm-hmm.
Just hoping to, make a splash in the pros one day. I love it in the minors. The camaraderie is great. I love the Tacoma locker room. Everybody gets along. So, one day, hopefully, when I get drafted, it is something that, I will miss, but I hope to be able to bring that to a pro team, this next draft.
Awesome. All right. Daniel, Shane, do either of you have any questions for Johnny or Randy?
Well, you kind of asked mine, but I'll try it again. So your aspirations, your multi-season guys for the minors, the big thing for you guys is getting drafted. You said you were looking around, but was there any team that you saw last season in the majors that actually appealed to you and might fit your play style? One at a time, go for it.
Well, oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Over the last 2 seasons, I can't say I've been able to catch a whole lot of SFL games. I'm a busy guy. But just from what I know of the teams, I know Colorado, the Nighthawks, if I'm getting that correct. They're a team that I know a good amount of people on from season 2 Birmingham. I think I heard around the rumor mill that Louisiana had a running back opening. I wouldn't
Yeah,
mind.
their running back retired.
So I will be sure to be talking to the Louisiana people out there. I'd love to have a chance to talk to them. And for me, it's not necessarily about who. It's about giving me the opportunity, and I'll take it and run. I'm not going to sit here and play favorites.
Awesome. Johnny?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the same concept. I mean, I'm not really picky on. I will say the more you reach out and you talk to these guys, you meet these guys. You get different vibes from different teams. I hate to name teams, but with San Diego having an opening right now, I talk to those guys a lot, and I mean that's a great group of guys. You kind of start getting this feeling that you mesh well with them. You have the same ideas, the same goals. But that's just an example. It could be any team. But really, when you kind of start talking to them more and more, you see what they're looking for and what you have to offer. So. Yeah, just like I said, I'm looking forward to the draft. Last year's draft was insanely fun for me. I mean, obviously, I landed back in the minors for a third season, but it was definitely one of the most fun experiences I've ever had. I was able to chat with a handful of teams, great owners and GMs all over the place. It didn't play out in my favor, obviously, but I'm definitely looking forward to this next year.
Awesome. Dana, do you have any other questions?
No, I'll give it to Shane. Shane,
All
if
right.
you have any questions, go right ahead.
No, I think you guys pretty much asked all the questions that, all the common questions. I just want to wish these two guys, all the best of luck, and I definitely think we'll be seeing both of your names called this coming draft. Johnny's on my team, so we get to talk a lot. So, we'll continue talking, but just want to wish you guys the best of luck.
Absolutely, man. And man, I appreciate it. And between you and Mike Savage and Brad Jones, you guys are like brothers in the locker room. And I hope the same for y'all. It's fun watching our games and spreading the ball around and seeing everybody successful. So I've enjoyed it.
I agree.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Just to kind of parrot what Johnny there said. The locker room is amazing. I love seeing the new guys get engaged, get excited. It reminds me of when I was brand new and I had Riley Quintero out there hyping us up for Birmingham. So, it brings back memories, and I'm excited to play out the rest of this season. See where it goes.
Awesome. So I have to echo exactly what Shane said. Really great having you here. Good luck for every every game that you have this season, and I'm expecting wholeheartedly that you guys both your names will be called on draft day for sure. I believe that strongly. And yeah, the door's always open here. If you ever want to join in on analysis of any games or previewing of any games, let us know. Drop a line, and don't be strangers.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Sounds good. Thank you. See ya.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So that was great. That was really exciting. I've never, I haven't talked to either of these two other than in chat. So it's great hearing people, real time talking. There's real people behind these people, these players. I think, getting to know Daniel and Shane this way, and you guys getting to know me in some way. I think that's really exciting. And yeah, other SFLM, I want to be able to do this more often with other players. So if you're interested in coming on, want to do a little chat like this with me, let me know. We can do it in this style. Just let me know. Reach out. All right. So there are 4 games coming up in less than 24 hours from now. Goodness, no, exactly. Less than 24 hours from now. Awesome. So let's get into previewing those. How about? Sound good? All right.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Okay. All right, we'll switch over here. That is not the one I want to show right now. Don't know why that's up. All right, game one. We have Madison's debut game at Boise. Boise with a S. All right. So looking at this game, that's the early game. Early is relative. Thursday, tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. We've got the Madison Lynx faces the Boise Mud Dogs. And I spelled that wrong. I need to fix that. Must Dogs. All right. I'm not perfect. All right. Daniel, what are your thoughts on this game?
This will be the first time that we see the Lynx in action. We piped them up pretty good last week with all the Lynx people in chat and in our voice call.
Absolutely.
Mr. Diggs, I see you in the chat as well. Listen in. I want to see how the Mud Dogs do after their loss to Tacoma, because we thought they would be pretty good. We didn't think we thought it was going to be a shootout, and really Tacoma's defense stifled him and stopped him and contained him as much as possible. And one would argue the Lynx defense might be better than Tacoma's defense, at least starting off, before we can get upgrades and things like that. Because Fields was the only person that returned on the defense for Tacoma, and we had multiple for the Lynx coming back. So it'll be interesting to see how Doug Brown does, and see if he can actually get back to the form that he had last season.
Absolutely. And yeah, so you had mentioned, Earl Fields, the fourth, being a inside linebacker there over on Tacoma, in that middle line just behind the defensive line. I don't know how many tackles or how pivotal he was in stopping Doug Brown. In this case with Madison, the longevity comes in the form of two safeties, which are playing a little bit further back per se, or oftentimes we see, and I know from your own play, free safeties coming in and stopping their run when they're going outside of the tackle versus in the middle. So that'll be an interesting. I really like your call out there. Shane, do you have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see, Madison's first game, how they're going to look. I definitely think you're going to see a lot better of a Boise team for sure. They're going to look completely different. So I think that's what I'm going to be looking for is how Madison's going to look. Week one. Sometimes things don't always go for your first game, so I'm kind of curious to see that.
Yep. And looking at Boise's defense as well, they've got returning Don Fletcher and the cornerback, and the big man in the back, our savior, Dante Grimm, coming in. It's this young, sort of fresh-faced Madison Lynx team. Are they going to be able to be as effective as our Sims are playing out to be or not? You know what I mean? I think this will be a really fun matchup. I think both the offense for Boise against Madison's defense, to see how they battle each other, and similarly, has Madison come up with the right game plan to be effective against this pretty strong Boise Mud Dogs defense? I'm hopeful, and I also want to preface this too, that just so that everybody's aware that we were required to submit our playbooks prior to last week's game, so we do not have any. We're not playing on any footage from last week at all. So this was all much like your game one last week. It will be the same thing for us. Similar for Boise, not having any game film on this year's Madison team to sim against either. So it's going to be sort of another week one roll of the dice kind of gamble. Or do we have the right game plan? Do we know what the other team is going to be trying to do? And I think that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and to mention, since you want to know so bad, Earl Fields had 6 tackles, 3 assisted, and 2 tackles for loss in that game. So he was the second most tackles for Tacoma.
Who was the first most tackles?
Frank Bernstein, the strong safety, had 8 total tackles and 3 assisted.
Gotcha. So that must be Brown getting through there and or tackling anybody that the Trellis Blanton was tossing to in the back as well.
Yeah.
Um,
So he did break free a few times. I remember that, but they did contain him to not the big plays that would wreck them. And last season for us, he had one really long play, like he broke 3 tackles and just went all the way to the house. So they did contain him better this game.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, cool. All right. So that's game one. Either of you, do you guys, either Daniel or Shane, do you guys have a premonition of who you think is going to be taking the win?
To me, it's all going to come down to Brown versus the Lynx defense. Brown needs to get going.
Okay.
And we saw with the Mud Dogs that their defense, even though a lot of them are returning players, they got completely hacked by Tacoma. Now,
Okay.
on the flip side, Xanamoon is a relatively newcomer to all this. So he might not be able to do this lesson like Tacoma did. So I'm looking to see the Mud Dogs bounce back. I'm going to give the slight lean because I don't know how you vote against Doug Brown usually. Well, I'm hoping Doug Brown goes back to form this game.
Yeah. How about you, Shane? Do you have any premonition or any thoughts on how this might play out?
Yeah, I won't pick a winner or loser. Just because I'm still in the league, and you don't want to.
Absolutely.
He doesn't like angry letters.
Yeah, but I will say I'm expecting Doug Brown to have a huge game in this, a bounce back kind of game, if you would say, for him. So I think that's going to be the key of the game. Can Madison stop him or not? I think that's where it's going to come down to.
Mm-hmm. Two other things I'd love to call out here too is two newcomers on one team and one on the other. I think it was just yesterday, the day before, defensive end Robert Cherry coming on board for the Lynx. Really great to have him. I also noticed just today another defensive end coming in just tonight, like an hour ago, coming in. I'm not sure where he was placed or if he has been yet. But that's exciting to see more DEs coming in because there hadn't really been any. And then I think there were just a bunch of them that dropped. I think because of some of the stuff that we were seeing in the ticker during the games and things that there was like none in the league at that point during the games last week. So that's really hopeful. Another thing too, tight end Kyle Storm joins Boise, giving Trellis another receiving weapon out there. In addition to another blocker, potentially another solid blocker for Doug Brown, as if he needs any more. Just kidding. All right, cool. Well, we'll move on then to the next game number 2. And that will be at 7:20, so 20 minutes later tomorrow, 7:20 Eastern, 6:20 Central. That is Tacoma visits Salt Lake. All right, so we've got Tacoma. We talked a lot about how powerful their offense was last week in overcoming the Boise in their game. Huge numbers from both Johnny Reno at 311 yards, Brad Jones nearing 196, nearing 200 yards. I think together their combined offense was I think it was like 520 some yards, and I think it was 38 points total against 10. I can only imagine they're going to have another pretty decent game. Looking at the defense that offense then is battling, we've got a returning outside linebacker with Bogey Barr, and strong safety with Frankie Custer as well. Both of them pretty solid players, but I'm not sure if they're going to have the ability to stop this Tacoma offense once it starts rolling and getting some momentum going. Looking over at the Rustlers offense, we've got a second-year player, first-year quarterback in Kenny Slider. We've got the running back Logan Lee, just sort of pretty fresh. And then they just recently added, just for last week, Lottie Lou at wide receiver and a new tight end as well, I believe. I'm not sure if James Tyburn was actually able to make it into the game last week, or if this will be his first week. But either way, I think it's great seeing their offense, adding more players, because I know that was an issue early on or a couple weeks ago. But looking at how stacked right now the defense is for Tacoma, with two linebackers, two cornerbacks, and a free safety and strong safety, it's hard to vote against them, if you will. What's your take on it, Daniel?
It's hard to go any other way than Tacoma in this game. They're both 1-0 teams, but they both had different routes to get to that. Tacoma had a strong performance, both offense and defense. Mark Kaufman, newcomer cornerback, got an interception. Their defense contained Doug Brown once again. And really, the offense with Shane Kaufman, you made another typo there, my friend. Shane Kaufman had a really good record-breaking performance. Mike Savage was relatively quiet in retrospect, but you can't count out #Savage. He'll have his game too. And if Reno keeps playing the way he's playing, I don't think anything's going to stop them. Now, Salt Lake, on the flip side, did win a game, 10-3, but it was really a game that was up in the air, and it was really about who can make that first drive to get touchdowns. You're going to have to score a lot on Tacoma to stop their offense and actually get a win, and I don't think Salt Lake can do that.
Shane, what's your hot take on how you think your Tacoma Grizzlies are going to do against the Rustlers?
Well, I mean, I definitely think, and I know we say this all the time, but offensively, it's tough to we're going to be tough to stop. And you game plan trying to stop Brad Jones, and it just opens up for myself and Mike. You try stopping, you try game planning to stop us, and then Brad Jones is going to run all over. So I think we're going to put up points. Now, I think where it's going to be a toss-up is our young defense. If Salt Lake City can get their offense going, it could be one of those back-and-forth kind of games. Our defense played very well last week, and I expect them to play well again. But like we're talking about, it's a very young defense. So I'm just hoping, we put together a game like last week and just keep it going.
Mm-hmm. I see Lottie Lou in the chat hyping up their defense. I'd love to see that. I'm really excited to see how each one of these is going to evolve and morph every single week as we get through this, and how the game plans are going to morph as much as they can. There's limits as to how much changes you can make. That's why I think planning for that first week is going to be so huge, which already took place. And I'm just excited for everything that's going to be happening. All right. Daniel, you said it's hard to vote against Tacoma with the way that it looks right now. I feel like it will either be a close game with Tacoma winning, or it will be a blowout by Tacoma with Tacoma winning. Is my, it's hard for me to imagine another situation. And again, this is not in any way, any type of offense meant for Salt Lake at all. I just think, I think there's just so much power and talent in the players, and then knowing that they have, again, with the returning offense, the same coaches that were there last year in using that same offense are here again. And have really gotten down and good with what works well for this team. So, all right. So we'll move on then to our next game number 3. So game number 3, we've got Memphis at San Jose. So here we have Memphis again. Didn't do quite as well as we were expecting them. I think everybody assumed they were going to be a little bit better than what they were last game. So I feel like this is maybe their retribution game. Similar situation probably on the flight. I think this is the game where you might want to tune in and see which team is going to stake the claim in the ground and and run forward with it and change their destiny, if you will, for the rest of the season. Right now, looking at strictly values and powerful players, we've got GP Wells and Israel Adams both on Memphis, which I think are poised to do really well. We have a returning tight end with Caesar Ackerman. We've got a new defensive end that joined the team, Angela Meerkat, which is a partner of another, I think, defensive back on another team, Mr. Meerkat. We have returning Laquan Smith. They have a kicker. Looking then over at the flight, they've got Logan Strange returning. And it looks then, I think in general, that's the only person that's returning. Again, I don't know. Maybe Daniel, is there anybody else on the flight that I'm missing that is here from season 3?
I think. Did you say they're strong safety?
I did not say Bryant James.
Yeah, so he's a bronze. I know to be bronze at this point is to be here season
Okay.
I think.
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel like, Memphis, they both have something to prove. Memphis is the one I feel just might edge out, again, depending on how well their plan works. And I think that's really what it will come down to, is who has the better game plan coming into this. Both teams will have the opportunity to scout last, just yesterday or Friday's games to see what their plan is and make adjustments for each other. Daniel, what is your take on this?
So, Memphis had a string of bad luck last week. I think I saw maybe 4 drop passes, easy catches that were dropped. They need to get back on the GP Wells bandwagon and start running plays for him a bit more. Because I think if I remember correctly, I said jive through 42 times.
Yep.
And that's rough for any quarterback, even if you're second time or third year. And jive is first year. So it's tough throwing 42 times in a game and expecting to win with your first year quarterback. Israel Adams, someone mentioned this already in the chat, but he had a stellar game. Like, he was the standout for Memphis on offense, and I'm hoping that continues. Seems like a great person. See him in the chat all the time talking. See him in the general chat talking. I think we need to get more onto GP Wells and let him take action in this game. Let him be the train that leads through. On defense was okay for Memphis, but they have the ability to be so much more. We have the best corner in Laquan Smith rating overall anyway. And they have a bunch of returning players as well. So, and San Jose is still trying to find himself. Just no knock on San Jose. Everyone that's playing are great people, should be drafted. I'm not knocking anyone out here, but San Jose they're struggling to find their identity. Once they find their identity, they'll have plenty of games. Maybe it will happen in this one. But I'm expecting a Memphis bounce back.
Mm-hmm. Shane, what's your thoughts? What's your perspective on this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I like Daniel said, I think Memphis is just going to bounce back in this game. They're way too talented not to. I think you're going to look at this game you're going to be like, okay, that's the Memphis team that we thought was going to be, we're going to see week 1.
Mm-hmm. And we've got, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe you guys don't know him. I think Memphis has Hubba Kimbrell as head coach. I think Jay Hayden might be in there as well. San Jose with Art Vandelay. I know the flight last year with us at Tacoma was really a tough opponent. They really had our number in some certain situations. We were able to beat them once, and then we lost in the road to the playoffs. Or road to the championship. I feel like, again, this will come down to who has a better game plan than the other. And I think if Memphis does have a better game plan, it will be a blowout. If San Jose has a better game plan, it will be a close game with San Jose taking it. I'm excited to see what will result from this. All right. Let's move to our final game. So that will bring up 9:20 on Thursday Eastern or 8:20 Central. We have Lexington at Ottawa. So Lexington won pretty convincingly, decently against Memphis. Ottawa lost, really struggled out there. I think Scar had trouble. You're only as good as your weakest link, and with a brand new entire offense minus the quarterback, it's tough for him to find a solid, consistent person to throw it to that can get that yardage. Or with AJ as again, not trying to, just as a newcomer, not having the value or the ability quite yet to battle up against some of these veteran defensive individuals. We'll see how that turns out. Looking else at this, I feel like Lexington has a very strong defense, which then might counteract, whatever Ottawa offense might be able to turn around. So it might be, and then it will be up to the Lexington offense to be able to see what they can do against this what I would like to say is a pretty solid Ottawa defense. I feel like there's potential there. They didn't play to their potential against Annapolis last week, but I think there's something there that I think they aren't as bad as that number shows. I think they'll be better this week with be able to have a game to scout to be able to understand what play style are they coming into versus rolling the dice. Daniel, what's your take on this?
Yeah, Lexington defensively was pretty solid. They had 3 interceptions last week.
Okay.
One by Travis Arthur, one by Ty Woodson, and one by Daryl Buller. So defensively, their secondary really performed. But their offense, you have to stop David Gears. He is the one-man wrecking crew last week offensively. He had 193 yards. That's pretty good for a wide receiver, I would say.
Yeah.
And even though the quarterback is relatively new, he did not throw an interception. But he did get sacked 5 times. So if you want to beat this team, you have to hurry their quarterback. It seems like you can, and that's the way you have to go about on the defensive side. Now, Ottawa, they struggled. We all knew they were going to struggle at some point. Navigators is a good, solid team. I've been touting their defense since the Fuel last season. I think Scar rebounds. I think Scar's going to have a better game. This one is going to be a lot closer than I think people might think relatively early on because of how bad Ottawa got blown out. But I think this game might be a one-score game that could go either way.
Mm-hmm. Shane, what's your perspective on this game?
Yeah, I have to agree with Danny. I think you're going to see a much better Ottawa team. I think people are going to think, Lexington's going to, blow them out. But I think, you're going to see a pretty close game. I really do. I think they'll have a good game plan. I just have that feeling it's going to be that really close one possession kind of game.
Mm-hmm. That's what I love to see that. I don't want to see any teams really struggle. I really want them to find their identity and really come at the other teams, really hard. That's what I'm really hoping to see. I'm hoping to see that with this game as well, similar to what you were just describing, Shane, is that, really hard nosed fight for every yard and just really bringing it, or like a nice back and forth. One team scores, the other team scores. Some nice back and forth there. That's what I'm hoping for this game too. Any final thoughts on all 4 games? Anything? Any highlights that you think the must-watch game should be?
Lost game. I think it might be this one, Lexington and Ottawa. I think this is going to be the close game. I think this will be a game that'll be one score either way, and we will see Scar Patterson hopefully play as well as he can so he can play. Other than that, I'm looking for GP Wells to have a better week, and I'm looking for the Memphis team in particular to get going. Because they had a lot of drop passes. AI sometimes can be a cruel mistress on either side of the field. So I'm hoping and I'm thinking they're going to have a better game.
Shane, do you have any standouts that you are really looking to see?
Well, yeah, my bias pick, of course, is everyone if you watch Tacoma.
Yeah.
But no, I think for me, just looking at it and just, I think the first game one, I think Madison and the Boise game to me is going to be the game of the week. I just think that's going to be one heck of a game. I really do.
Awesome. I'd like to. I'm gonna side with you, Shane. For me, Tacoma obviously is going to be a really exciting game. Every game of theirs this season, I'm going to try to tune in for because I feel like it's going to be really exciting to see what if a defense can stop them. Do they have the right game plan? Right now, they're the one to stop. Alongside, Annapolis actually surprisingly has a bye this week, so we won't be able to see them, and they'll get 2 weeks to plan for their next game. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't checked who they're playing yet, but yeah, for this week, Tacoma obviously big game. But yeah, this first game, I think, with Madison coming out of the gate, not knowing what they're going to be like, this will be their first opportunity to show off who they are, how well they do, or how well they might need to, or how much they might need to get better against Boise. And I want to wish them luck. I want to wish every single player, every single team out there luck this week. We're roughly getting to time, so we'll just wrap up. Daniel, thanks as always for being here. And if anything, I wish you luck in your travels next week and the week after. Have a lot of fun for all of us. Shane, thanks for joining tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And Daniel, enjoy your vacation in my neck of the woods.
It should be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I need a vacation at this point with all this pandemic nonsense.
Absolutely. And I want to wish a little again thank both Johnny Reno and Randy Squarebush for joining us earlier. All of you in the chat, all of you watching on the VOD video on demand or whatever, I think that's what it stands for. Anybody else watching this, thanks for tuning in, for sticking with us. I hope it's been valuable. And that's about it. We'll see you guys on the field tomorrow. It is less than 24 hours away. Really excited about it. So, good night.